Hi everyone, over to you, David.
All righty. Ed, thank you. Melanie, welcome. The
Thank you.
topic that you worked on getting ready to present today, implementing a new dam with a global strategy and a focus on digitalization, talk about watchwords for today and tomorrow. I think your title so accurately captures much of what's going on in the field of dam. Your leadership contributes to it. I've enjoyed so much working with you over the past few weeks getting ready for today. Can't wait till you're here in Washington, D.C. sometime, or I'm over there. And on that note, welcome. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for the opportunity of being here and sharing the dam journey of Tupperware. I'm very excited. Let me quickly introduce myself. I am Melanie. I'm located in Austria and I'm the global digital librarian and managing our dam at Tupperware since more than 7 years. Before I get started and dive into our dam journey, I just want to give you a very brief background of Tupperware because that's important for our dam journey. I guess most of you know Tupperware. I guess most of you have Tupperware at home. And maybe many of you also have the little story with Tupperware. Doesn't matter if you maybe still have like a very old bowl from your grandmother at home, or maybe sometimes you struggle to find the right seal for the bowl because you just have too much. It just shows that Tupperware has a very long story and is part in so many households. And everything started in the 1940s when the chemist Erlas Tupperware invented the first Tupperware bowl. It was the Wonderlier bowl that we are still selling today, and it has this iconic airtight and liquid-tight seal that was unique. And it was Brownie Wise. It was the woman Brownie Wise that developed the at-home party system and held the first Tupperware party. It's the at-home party where people come together at home, exploring products, cooking together, and just enjoying a great time. And this is still happening since more than 75 years. People are still having Tupperware parties at their home. And we are currently operating in more than 70 countries. We are involved in many sustainable-minded projects. And we even develop products for NASA to grow vegetables in space. So we have a very huge history. And I want to give you a brief overview of our dam journey. When I started at Tupperware, we had a very small digital library. I don't even want to call it a dam. It was really a library. We only had a EMEA department uploading assets and our global creative team. All other markets all around the world had their own little solutions. And with same solutions, they were mostly storing assets in their own shared drives or on their own laptops. So from creative global perspective, it was difficult because we couldn't even see what other markets are doing. And we had markets that really developed great content. They had great campaigns, but no other market saw it for inspiration because they didn't see it. We were like blind. So we said something needs to change. And we had a small library. It was a great tool. I really liked it, but users struggled with a search. We didn't have a faceted search. We had a folder structure. We had a search bar. And at upload, we had one metadata field to put ad tags. And that's it. And it really made it difficult for the market to really find assets. So in 2018, we said it's time to look for a global dam because we want to have the single source of truth for our digital assets. So in 2018, we started to look for the right vendor for us. And then in 2020, we really implemented our new global dam. And now I want to dive into it with you and share our experiences with you. Starting with a vendor search. As said, we started in 2018 to look for the right vendor. And to start the search, we created a huge list of requirements. The list was long. We really had to look what is out there. Which vendors do we have? Which solutions do they have? Which functionality is there? And we created a huge list. And we categorized in nice to have and must have, so that we have like a good basement to really compare the vendors and see what do we really want and for which vendor do we go to. And we also created some use cases because we wanted to see the use cases, how we operate, how is usually our workflow to make sure that our new dam can manage that. And then we started to contact the vendors. We started to contact them. We asked them for a demo, of course, And we also asked them in the demo that they go through our use cases so that we make sure that they can really cover that. And after the first round of demos, we also checked and asked them, okay, let's do another demo with a bigger team. So we also involved some management people, some more creatives, some people from the markets to make sure that we get their feedback from a different perspective in our enterprise. And one of our colleagues had a great idea because he said, why not doing scorecards for the feedback? Because at the end, we need to analyze their feedback. So if we just get their feedback, it's maybe quite difficult. So we really did an Excel file. We had the use case in there, some other points where the feedback was important, and they scored it. They gave us their rating. And with that, we could just see which vendor had the highest score and what was their feedback. And at the end, we did a proof of concept with 2 of the vendors. The first vendor that we worked with, we did just a small setup. We created some basic metadata. We uploaded some of our assets. And what was very nice with their solution, they didn't just have a DAM. The DAM would come with a PIM. And believe it or not, but at that moment, Tupperware didn't have a global project information management system. As said, every market was working a bit differently, so it was not available. So having a DAM together with a PIM would have been super nice for us, had a lot of advantages for us. So we really had a look at it, and it was a great tool. We could personalize a lot. We could set up a lot. We didn't need technical people from the vendor. We could really adapt a lot by ourselves. And when we were ready for the proof of concept, we also said, okay, let's do another demo to the bigger team and show them how this DAM would look like with our assets. And while doing the demo, we already saw that it was not that intuitive as we would have expected it to be. You need a lot of clicks, and it was not that easy for the users to navigate through. So we said, okay, let's also have a look at this second vendor and see if they would be different. So it was good that we did a proof of concept, because in the demos, everything always looks perfect. And if you look at your use cases, you maybe find things that are maybe not perfectly fitting for your needs. So we did a second POC with the other vendor. Same procedure. We started to set it up. We did a very small setup of metadata. We uploaded some assets, and we did again the demo to the bigger team. And there we already saw that it was much more intuitive. It was great in user experience. It was super easy for the users to find what they needed. And that's why at the end, we decided to go for this vendor, because it was important for us that we don't have users that are frustrated. We wanted them to really easily navigate through the DAM and find what they need in a short period of time without losing time. And then the implementation started. So we finally had our vendor, we made our decision, and we started the implementation. We planned 3 months for the implementation. That was our rough guess. And it was super nice because the vendor gave us a team from his side, and they really took us by hand and went step by step through the process with us. It was our first big implementation of a DAM, so we had no clue where to start, what to prioritize, what to do. So they really went step by step with us through the whole process. And already at the beginning, we found one of our biggest challenge, product information. I already saw from our previous library that over 90% of the searches were product related. So we knew how important it is to have product information in the metadata. Otherwise, they will have issues. And we really had a lot of struggles there. Just to give you some examples. At Tupperware, we try to produce as locally as possible. So we have a lot of different plants all over the world. And if we have one product that is produced in Europe, it has a finished good number, and exactly the same product is produced in the US. Same material, same color, but it has another finished good number. So if a user of Europe is uploading an image of that product with this finished good number to the DAM, the user of US might not find it because they don't have all the all the finished good numbers of Europe available. So we had to find a way to have enough information that really everyone is able to find assets. And there was another struggle, for example, with the product name. If Tupperware is launching a new product, it gets an English product name. And let's say there's a chopper. In US, it will work perfectly, but the word chopper maybe doesn't say a lot for Spanish consumers or French or German. So the markets also adapt the product name into their local language, that it works for their market. So you could also not really search for the product name because we have different ones all over the world. So we really knew we need product information. And the solution there was that we want to integrate our global product component system to the DAM. As we didn't have a PIM, we had to find another system. And that system really had all the information that we needed and that we wanted to integrate. So we were creating an API. We created an API, and it worked that as soon as you upload an asset, it is required that you add your finished good number from your market. And all the other product information, like component numbers, product name, product category, even product color, whatever is important, will be pulled automatically via the API from this global component system into the DAM as metadata. So it was very easy for users all over the world, doesn't matter which information they have, to find the product information and the assets that they needed. Doesn't matter if I'm located in Brazil, in Mexico, in China, whatever I have available, I will be able to find the asset. And that was one of the keys for success for our DAM, because that was really the most important to focus on, that we have product information, because more than 90% of our searches are really product related. And then we had to create a global taxonomy and also a user permission model. And when we started on a user permission model, we already saw how complex it will be, because of course we wanted to have it perfect for the user, and we didn't want to just show everything to all the users. We wanted to make sure that what they see is relevant for them. And in different markets, you have different product needs. So for example, in Asia, we have different products than in Europe. So why should a European user see the Asian products? They're not relevant for him. So we can already narrow down the search a bit and really only show what they need to see. And we were successful with the system to really set it up with the complexity that we had. And then we had to create a global taxonomy. Same challenge there. I had a colleague and we were working on the taxonomy, and we created this huge tree of taxonomy that we wanted to implement. And it was a perfect timing, because just when we started the implementation, we were also attending the DAM Summit in London in 2019. And for us, it was a perfect timing because we got a lot of information there. We learned so much. It was important exactly in this step of the implementation. And we also attended the pre-tutorial from John Hardesky about metadata. And we learned so much, and it was really important at that moment for us. And I remember before we went to London, my colleague and I, we just printed out our taxonomy draft. It was an A3 paper. The text was super small because it was such a huge tree. And in one of the breaks, we went to John. And we said, okay, we know it's a lot to ask you, and we are aware that you're super busy at this summit, but is there any chance that you could quickly have a look at our taxonomy and give us your feedback? And I'm not sure what he was thinking at that moment, but according to his face, I think on one side he was maybe a bit shocked that we're asking this question, seeing this huge tree, and on the other side he was laughing. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And he really took the paper, and the next day he came back to us and he gave us very valuable feedback. We appreciated that so much. We were so thankful to get his feedback from an outside expert. And he also told us that the way we're going was just a good way. So we did a lot of good stuff. And that was really, really helpful for us at that moment to have some feedback and to know this is the right way to go. And the whole implementation took us around 9 months. So as said, we were planning 3 months. We need 3 times as long. But it was good that we didn't rush, because at the beginning we just said, okay, let's take 3 months and let's do that. And we didn't know how complex that will be. So it was good that we really took the 9 months for this implementation and make sure what we launched to our users and to our employees will be a good system to test it well and make sure that what we give them is a good system and they will not have any frustrations because functions will not work or maybe the search is not perfect. I mean, your DAM will never be final and ready, and that's how it is. You can always improve your taxonomy. There will always be new processes. The vendors always have new functions that you can use and implement. So there is always something to do. But after 9 months, we were really sure, okay, if we now implement that, we will have a good success with our DAM. And that's what it was. In 2020, we then finally launched our DAM. And before we did the global launch to all of our employees, I launched it to a smaller group. I did a pre-launch to our internal team that was the global creative team. And I went to Paris and I brought them some nice sweet treats from Austria because I know that they love that. And I did a little game with them. And before I trained them and demoed them how our new DAM is working, I really briefly just showed them the filters. I quickly went over, I didn't describe or explain anything. I just showed them what is there. And then I gave them some tasks. I was asking, for example, how would you search for a product picture that you saw in the catalog of last year of France? And they just knew how to find it. They found it in a short period of time without any explanation, without any training. They just went into the DAM, used the filters and found it. And that was the proof for us that what we've created is working well. We really did it the right way. It's intuitive, it's user-friendly. They find what they need without our help. And the biggest improvement was a search. As I already mentioned, the key for our success was our product information that we've importing with the API, with this integration, because still more than 95% even of the searches are product related. But of course, we still had also difficulties. I mean, that's how it is. It was still difficult for us to encourage the markets to upload their assets. They were all downloading. We had 3 times as much downloads as we had before, but they didn't want to upload. So I really had to contact market by market and talk to them. And they were all saying, Melanie, we don't have the time. We don't have the resources. So it was really up to me to show them how easy it is, that they don't need to spend a lot of time and they will have a lot of advantages. And that will even save them time. But it's still a process that is ongoing today. 3 years later, we are still working on onboarding all these markets. And also we had struggled with asset rights. It was not a big topic before, but all of a sudden we had this DAM full of assets from all over the world. And of course, we want to respect the partnership with the photographers, videographers, talents, food stylists, and everyone. So we had to make sure users know how to use our assets. So we worked very close with the legal department to make sure we make a webinar, we have a guide for them, and we also have metadata. At the moment they download the picture, they know how they can use it or maybe how they cannot use it. And then we had to go digital. That's why I told you our history a bit, because since more than 75 years, we were doing traditional Tupperware parties. We had very few online shops. There was one in the US, and I think, if I'm not wrong, at that moment, we didn't have any in Europe. And then COVID hit the world. It hit Tupperware, it hit our Salesforce. So we had to go digital very fast. We had to go from the traditional Tupperware parties at home that was not possible anymore, from one day to the other, to online parties on social media, on WhatsApp, on Zoom, because we had to do something. I mean, for Tupperware, but also for our Salesforce. We have more than 2 million Salesforce out there. We still wanted them to have their income. We still wanted them to do what they love to do, to have social contacts. And people were spending more time in the kitchen, so they needed products. So the DAM was really key for that, for this whole digital transformation. It had a huge role because thanks to the DAM, we were able to provide digital assets to our Salesforce to do their online parties. And it was there. The functionality was there. There was no cost behind. We just had to implement the process. And that's why it was such a huge role for us to have the DAM to really do this digitalization. And then we even implemented a module that helped us to translate content into local languages. So the English content that we've provided, they could just easily translate. We didn't have to buy another software, or you didn't need to be an expert in Photoshop or InDesign. You could easily do it in a DAM and then share it with the Salesforce. But was also very important, and what was also a big advantage from my side, at least, a lot of markets started to upload and share their assets because they wanted to share the assets with a Salesforce. So they had to upload it. And they saw how easy it is and how many advantages they have. So they continued with that. But also, again, we had to focus on rights management because now we are still even sharing with a bigger audience, more than 2 million Salesforce. So we had to make sure that our markets know exactly which assets they can share with the Salesforce and which assets they cannot share. So it was really a huge thing that we had to do to make sure everything is working as it should be. And even now, more than 70% of our downloads in the DAM are coming from Salesforce. More than 70%. This shows again this huge role of the DAM in our enterprise. Without the DAM, it would have been super difficult for us, but it was such an important role that we had and a key for the success to move from a traditional Tupperware party to online parties. Thank you so much. I was very excited. I hope you enjoyed listening and you got some nice learnings. And I was very enjoying sharing our best practices and our experience that we had. David, do we have some questions?
We do. And the
Perfect.
first one, a very interesting one. If you could do another implementation today, what would you do differently?
Oh, that's a good question. Because even while I was doing my presentation for today, I was thinking about it. What would I do differently? Because just going through the whole process again, there were some parts that I would maybe do differently because when we were doing the demos with the vendors, we gave them the use cases. And our focus was really how is it for our end users to go through this process, to go through the use case. We didn't really put a focus on the admin part. And I think now would also look more into the admin part because the admin needs to manage the system. So it also needs to be easy on that part. And I would also maybe talk to existing customers of the vendor. And I would maybe also ask them how they handle bug tickets or improvement requests. It's a software. And whenever there's an improvement that needs to be made, how do they handle it? How fast can they handle it? And there was one question that I would love to ask them. I mean, the moment we were in the summit, we already decided which vendor we will take. So it was a bit too late, but I remember at the summit, Teresa Regley gave us a very good question I would love to ask the vendors is, what are you not able to do? Or what are your weaknesses compared to the other vendors? And it's not to talk about the bad sides of their DAM. It's really to see how they handle that question. How transparent are they and how they handle challenges? So I would love to ask that question.
I think it's such a valuable one. And I think it's the underlying process and belief in answering that's actually, it's a bit of the prenuptial event. It's a way to see how's the firmament in this relationship going to come together so that we face a future arm in arm through DAM for hopefully many years to come. And I think I would love to do a Henry Stewart session where we had one of taking a book from John and Heather and the great taxonomists, and we just took little sticky notes and we wrote the best questions to ask our professional community, vendors, consultants, anybody, because the learning that's gone on is vast and deep. And many times, though, our colleagues, Melanie, are given the remit to go buy DAM without the benefit of a lot of background in buying software. It's one of the oddest things that happens in our field, in fact. And I think the lessons learned would be considerable. The list of questions would be considerable, and the guidance, as you said, about I guess I'm interested in the answer. They're not going to really know what every dam vendor does, but how do they answer? Because
Yes.
that's the relationship tissue that we're looking for there. Another question that came in is, could you list one or two surprises during your dam journey? I like this
Oh,
question.
there were a lot. There were a lot. I mean, one of it was for sure how complex it is. I mean, that's why I said we planned 3 months, it was 9 months, and we didn't expect all the complexity, what is behind. But also one of the biggest surprises, when I started my job as librarian, I thought, okay, I will now start tagging images and videos, and that's my daily business. But to now see the important role of the dam in our enterprise and having the CEO coming to you, telling how important it is, how important it was now in the history of Tupperware and how important your role is, that was such a huge positive surprise that I'm not just tagging images, that there is much more behind and how valuable the dam is for the company.
If I could get that quote to use in one of my opening remarks. It has been interesting to see over the years when in an investor relations call or to a corporate meeting where the executives acknowledge digital asset management and where the value of the assets are overtly acknowledged, especially on the investor side. So one of our colleagues who made an interesting career move from the cultural heritage sector to the corporate sector had an interesting question. How do you approach collaborating to create and nurture the global taxonomy? Are there a lot of people involved and a couple of challenges that you could comment on?
We were two. We were a team of two that were creating the taxonomy, but of course we had to look at our teams, we had to look at the markets, how they operate. We talked a lot of markets, how they operate, how does the workflow look like? Like if they are now creating a brochure, a catalog, how do they work to really see how they categorize? We asked them, just show us your screen. How do you categorize right now your shared folder? That we can really replicate it and see, okay, is this really what we were thinking about? Or do they have a complete different structure? Maybe they're not using the publication, maybe they are more product related or whatever. So we really talked to the teams within the company and we asked them to show their shared folder. And when we had the first taxonomy done, that's what I also mentioned, we did the demo of our dam that we've implemented and asked them, just search and show me how you would find a specific asset. And it was a huge learning for us to maybe see, okay, they would maybe take a different way that we didn't thought about. And then we could just also implement and improve that.
Yeah, and I really did like the story about carrying your taxonomy to go see John. You know, and there's nobody who could better to like just say, okay, and then come back and have done his amazing magic work on that.
Yes.
A question also came in, were there unexpected pockets of resistance that organizationally you had to draw on your leadership skills or those of the leaders around you to help persuade adoption to a global dam?
That's a good question. I mean, there are always challenges. You need to change the behavior of thousands of people. And many of them are not familiar with a dam. They know, okay, we store images in there and videos and we can find them. But it was really a struggle to onboard them and to show them what the dam really means, which advantage it will bring. And we had high management behind us that saw that and that supported us in this way to really show the importance of the dam and why we are going this way.
Makes good sense. I will always remember being in an organizational level meeting where the CEO stood up and said, the train is not leaving the station about this, it's left the station. So, yeah. One quick question, and then we'll have the opportunity for everybody to take a brief break. Did you end up ending, and if I missed it, I'm sorry, did you end up acquiring a commercial PIM system?
No, we had another internal solution that we could turn into a PIM, but it's also still an ongoing process for all the transformation because for so many years We had so many different solutions all around the world. So it is an ongoing process. We have a solution finally, but it's still an ongoing process.
And as we are here today, Melanie, thank you for putting these thoughts together for us. It's so fun to always speak with our colleagues around the world who are from brands that if we were to go upstairs in my kitchen, open a drawer, oh, there it is. So
thank you so much.
You bet. And up next, we'll take a short break in the networking lounge. Please visit our sponsors and talk with each other through the various chat tabs. We'll convene at 1:10 p.m. in track 1 for our panel session, Effective Digital Asset Organization and Metadata Strategy. Melanie, take good care. And to everyone, we'll see you in just about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.